Hello everyone. I have just bought this, it's a Mobius FW800. It's a 5-bay storage device. It takes 3.5-inch internal hard drives. Right now I have the red edition 1 terabytes in them. All identical drives in this container here. And I'm going to do a little demonstration of how it works. And if you look at the back here, let's look at the back here. We have several things going on here. Nice, you can switch the voltage here. You can, little power switch, which is nice and handy for turning it on and off. We have Firewire 2, which is, its rate is 800 megabytes per second. Then we have Firewire 1 or whatever, which is 400 megabytes per second. We have USB 3.0 and we have eSATA. And then we have some control switches here, configuration switches, so that you could set it up the way you want to. So what I'm going to do with all these drives, I'm going to set it up as a RAID 5, what would you call it, array, and we're going to have 4 drives be part of the RAID 5 and the last drive to be a hot spare. So first we're going to have to clear them. So all the switches are down, and how this particular model works is you plug it in, you stick all your drives in, bam, 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 all 5 are in. Trouble getting this last one in. And then when you boot it up, you press the set button. So all the switches are down in the position you want it to. You got to clear it first. Then you power it on. It's going to beep twice. So that was the first beep. You wait till the second beep. And there it is. And now we can turn it off. And I'm going to set it up with the hot spare. So I'm going to remove one of the drives. The drive that I remove is going to be the hot spare. So now I switch the dip switches to RAID 5 configuration, which is the center switch being up. It's the bottom left there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push and hold the set button and turn on the power switch and wait for the second beep to go on. That will tell it that I want it to be a RAID 5 setup with 4 drives being the part of the RAID, and then the last drive, it's going to be a hot spare. I just put it in live just like that. So right now I have a 3 terabyte with a hot RAID 5 configuration with the hot spare, which is pretty nice. And essentially what that means is I get 3 terabytes of data. I can lose any one of these drives. If any one of those drives fail, I have redundancy. What will happen is when it detects that one of the 4 drives that are set up as the RAID, when it detects that one of those 4 drives fail, it's going to spin up the last drive that I selected as the hot spare. It's going to copy all that data to that last drive until you find a replacement to replace the failed drive, whichever one of the 4 failed. And that's why I bought 6 drives. This way I have a spare to swap it out when eventually one of the drives do fail. I'll have one brand new one just lying there where I can just slap it in there and keep running. And the nice thing about this is it does all this stuff non-stop. You could be copying stuff to it, you could be reading stuff from it. It doesn't care. The computer that you connect to it doesn't know that there's 5 physical drives here. All it knows, it sees it all as one drive, in this case a 3 terabyte drive. It sees it as if it was a 3 terabyte drive, when in reality we're using 5 terabytes to make this work. Now, you could not have this hot spare. So instead of accessing 3 terabytes, I could access 4 terabytes with the last one being it's called a parity. The one that that allows you to just lose any one of the drives and still keep all your data on it without losing any data. Well, in this case I set one of my drives to be a parity and one of them to be a hot spare. So This way I don't have to be around and it'll start copying into the new drive. And then when I walk by and see that one of these drives are red, I'm like, oh, okay. Pop it out and slap it back in. And we're gonna do a little test here. We're actually gonna hook it up. We're gonna initialize it. Here's my SATA, external SATA. I'm gonna plug it in. And here's my computer. And I'm gonna go to Start. I'm gonna go to right click on my computer, go to Manage. Then over here I'm gonna go to Disk Management. And this here should pop up my new drive. Oh, look, this little message popped up. I like to use a GPT, but it doesn't really matter for the most part. Well, if you're doing large file systems, you want to use GPT. I don't think that master boot record can handle anything over 2 terabytes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me. So we have here the new drive popped up here. It's 2.97 terabytes. The reason because, well, first off, it's seeing this as a 3 terabyte, but we lost a little bit. That's just going to be part of the file system partition and some other stuff. So we're going to right click on it. We're going to hit New Simple Drive or Volume, whatever, and we're going to hit Next. Yes, we want to create it. If you want to create multiple partitions, you can select what size you want just this partition to be, but we're going to keep it the maximum. We're going to mount it to drive E. We're going to rename it to Test. And yes, keep the quick format. I don't want to wait forever. Okay, and then we hit Finish. And right now, as you can see down there, it says Formatting. If I can get my camera straight. And in a few seconds, we should see that it pops up a window. Notice we have 4 drives running, and one of them is not running. That's the hot spare. Let's get this guy a little closer so you can see the lights flash as I'm doing stuff on the computer. Okay, this just popped up. We have a new drive ready to go. Woo-hoo. I'm going to close that computer management. So, here we have a new folder. It's let's go back here just to show you. It's in my computer here. It popped up as a brand new drive. I have 2.7 terabytes, and we're going to do a speed test right now. I have this folder here that I made. It's 12 gigabytes in size. We're probably not going to wait that long to copy the whole thing, but we're going to just drag and drop it, copy it to this drive. And it's copying. And we go more details. We're transferring at we hit 100 megabytes there a minute ago. 60 megabytes. Looks like we're getting about 60 megabyte throughput. It's dropping. That must have been the cache. There must be like an internal cache inside this hardware. So it's kind of fast at first and then slows down. So we're copying at 43 megabytes per second, excuse me. And it's going to take about 7 minutes to copy 12 gigabytes worth of data, which is not bad. I think that's pretty good, especially since these are physical hard drives. You know, they're not SSDs, so that's not bad. So let's see here. Now comes the fun part. Let's say we're doing something very important and one of our drives fail. Bam. Look at that. That last drive picked up and took its spot. This one's starting to be reconstructed. We lost one of them. That one becomes reconstructed. And we're still copying. We reduced in speed. We went down to 31 megabytes per second. But it's still fully functional. The computer never blinked. It never skipped a beat. And yet, we lost a physical drive, which is really kind of cool. So this is actually going to take quite some time. I read somewhere, I don't know how true this is, but you have to recopy the entire drive, even though you have a few files on it. You know, even if you're using 1% of the drive, you still have to wait for the entire drive to be recopied, which kind of sucks if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong, right in the comments. But anyways, the hot spare took over. This one died. And I think the way this one works is once this hot spare gets what's the word I'm looking for? Rewritten, then this one will, I don't know if it'll go back to this one or not. We'll have to find out and see. But right now this one's being reconstructed. And I wonder if this one becomes the new hot spare or not. Or does it transfer everything to there and take this one down to be a hot spare again? I don't know. But that's kind of what it's like. That's my setup. Yeah, still copying all my files and never missed a beat. So I'm actually going to be running this on a Linux. It's going to be my network attached storage running off the computer back there. That's my NAS computer, but I have an SSD running the operating system, and it's running Ubuntu server. I think it was like 10.4, I can't remember. And then I have a separate 2 terabyte, I think, hard drive that's saving all my files on there. So the idea is that I'll be able to put all my files in one central location on the network, and if any one of my drives fail, I still have all my files. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see anything else, maybe you want to see, it's going to take a while to reconstruct that whole thing. Maybe I'll make another video about when it fully gets reconstructed and stuff. So I don't know. If you want to see a video of how I do my sharing on my server back there on the network, just write a comment, or maybe some about my UPS. My UPS is actually feeding this drive. It's feeding that computer back there, the display switch, the monitor, which I have off right now. So all that is under my UPS, and I estimate about a 45-minute runtime if the power ever goes out. So yeah, fun stuff. Well, I don't care about all this stuff here. I'm going to be reformatting this thing anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much what we have there. How much we copied? Almost 6.5 gigs already. So well, thanks for watching. Goodbye.